Hey, it's Mike Brennan. We're back with another Michigan Marijuana Today. We continue to explore what's going on in the hemp world and with CBD. Recently, I think that the Medicare folks came out saying that they would take a serious look, and this is my understanding. I have Dave Crabill with me who can correct me if I'm wrong, but take a serious look at including CBD products under Medicare so that you would be able to purchase them through Medicare is my understanding, right, Dave Crabill?
Yeah, it looks like it's a real narrow lane just for certain companies. It's not like I can offer my CBD, uh, you know, and through this program, but there's a certain narrow lane. ACO Reach, EOM, and LEAD may offer substance access BEI. I mean, it's like anything that the government does. I mean, they're going to take little baby steps on this, but it's going in the right direction. That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, and why don't you introduce your guest, Dave?
Yeah, so we brought in Kyle McCalmon from Thumb Coast CBD. Kyle has he's a board member with iHemp Michigan. He's been offering CBD products for a while, and Kyle is chair of our cannabinoid um, committee and has been a great advocate for full spectrum CBD. So I thought I wanted to bring Kyle in to talk about this topic because it ties into that Mary Miller amendment too. So welcome, Kyle. Let's um, where are you at right now, Kyle? What's going on back there?
Yes.
Well, it's very interesting, and you're right, Dave. The narrow path, if you will, um, it's all an unknown. I think at this point, the fact that the feds seem to be loosening up and looking at allowing people to be reimbursed through Medicare, Medicaid for CBD products they use, but as it looks right now, with the feds limiting the amount of THC in CBD products is almost below what could naturally occur, I believe. So it's on one hand, it looks like they are loosening up, and on the other, it looks like they are tightening up and almost restricting what you can get. It's almost a catch 22 that, hey, you can now get reimbursed for purchasing CBD products, but no one may have the ability to purchase quality CBD products through that program. And it seems to be in a cynical aspect with the government that it's going to be geared toward strictly pharmaceuticals. For instance,
Mhm.
in the pharmaceutical world, Epidiolex, which is a pharmaceutical CBD that you would get as a prescription. So I think you're absolutely right for people like myself, like you, others that are producing CBD products. That avenue is unknown whether that will be open for us or not.
Yeah, why
And
don't we assume the audience, because I this goes on a broadcast that goes to a lot of folks that aren't real cannabis savvy, or at least are into all the minutia. Let's talk about the Farm Bill and what might happen on November 12th, and your earlier reference to the to Mary and her a little booby trap that she threw into the Farm Bill. Go ahead, discuss that, Dave.
Yeah, so it opens up a few different topics, but in a nutshell, um, let me preference what caused the issue in my mind. In 2019, uh, we enthusiastically grew a lot of hemp. In Michigan, we had I think 685 growers. I was fortunate, to have close relationships with a lot of people, and we went through the processing. I processed like 685 pounds of CBD into distillate, end up with like 11 liters of distillate. And that's something I want us to touch on is the processing. Because with this new rule, it really changes, like you said, it's going to go more pharmaceutical. But a lot of farmers got stuck with product. By 2020, the market had already collapsed. And I've mentioned this on the show before. I sold my first liter for $4 grand, and then all of a sudden it's down to like $300, value. So the market value dropped drastically, and we just didn't have the infrastructure or anything in place to really move these products out. So some adventurous minds created intoxicants using this CBD oil. They did conversions, and some of them are rather nasty processes. So I'm not in favor of, and it's something we've always talked about. Industrial hemp is not an intoxicant. Well, now they started making intoxicants. So that's the reason that this Illinois Senator Mary Miller, her motivation is to protect kids, because there's some bad actors out there creating intoxicants out of hemp and selling it into markets where cannabis is not legal. It's like a poor man's THC, in my estimation. So that's what caused the problem. So we have a different lane with the cannabinoids versus the fiber and the grain. And it'd be nice if we could maintain the CBD lane, because it provides a ton of benefit to people, but you need that entourage effect of a little bit of CBD, and that's where Kyle's done a lot of research. To the benefits of having some THC along with the CBD, and with these new rules, it's going to become a white powder. It has to be a CBD isolate. So, Kyle, would you walk us through how to process the biomass to create a CBD product, and what the differences are and how this is going to take place?
Well, there's a couple of different ways, and I'm not a chemist, so this is going to be a kind of a layman's interpretation. Is my understanding there are ways where you are extracting CBD with the different cannabinoids. They have different polarizations, so you can actually isolate CBD out of a plant. And I don't know the exact process, but those cannabinoids that are readily available, CBD, THC, CBG, basically they are put through, if you will, a sifter, and those cannabinoids can be sifted out individually as isolates. That's one process. It's rather time consuming and more expensive. Another process which you had touched on, Dave, is there's conversions, and there's different ways to convert it. Some of those ways are very nasty, but you can take a CBD or a THC oil, and if you are a chemist, you can convert those cannabinoids to other cannabinoids. So you can take THC, convert it to CBD, vice versa. So there's kind of two major ways to do that. And the conversion isn't always necessarily a dangerous way to do it. It's another way. Are there some processes that can be dangerous in converting? Yes, but they're not all of that way. But there's two ways to do that. So with isolates, I would think that if you are doing the polarization where you're sifting those cannabinoids through a filter, if you will, that is going to be a more expensive process. It's another step in a sense where, and to get the amount of that cannabinoid is really how much is in that plant, where when you are converting it chemically, you can do it all to 100% CBD through those conversions from whatever cannabinoid you have. So my assumption on this is that you would need less biomass for that. So it would be less expensive than getting a lot of biomass where you're filtering the cannabinoids through. And that's a very simplistic explanation, again, because I am not a chemist.
Well, let me paint a picture, if I can, Mike, on my experience with processing hemp. So, we grew an acre, like 3,000 plants. We pulled 900 males out of the system. We should have pulled 905. But so anyhow, because some of it went to a little bit of seed, we ended up 8% CBD. So these are genetic. It's cannabis sativa, but it's a genetic variety that produces more CBD than THC. So the THC was very low, 0.3% or less. It was all compliant, and it got put in these big white super sacks. They're like a 4x4x4 bag, big bag. And we trailered it down to the processor, and they do a solvent wash is what they do initially. So this one was butane, which is a more expensive process. The idea is you take this solvent and you rinse out all those cannabinoids, and then you remove the solvent, and what you're left with is that distillate. But the further step is to take it right down to white powder. What scares me about creating, when I finally run out of distillate, when I out of my jars of distillate, and I want to continue to help out my hockey buddies with some CBD products, do I have to order some white powder uh, somewhere? And I just don't trust that. It's scary because you know that China is going to be flooding the market with, I don't know, it just history will tend to repeat itself, and it's not a good situation in my mind. And then, can you touch on the entourage? Why would we want even a little bit of THC with our CBD, Kyle?
The entourage effect is with not just with THC, CBD, but all the different cannabinoids, about 150 in that plant. They work synergistically together. So going with the state wanting to have a certain amount of THC in our CBD products, that THC boosts the efficacy of the CBD, makes it more effective, but vice versa. The CBD makes the THC more effective. They work together. So it's not just that the THC is making the CBD more effective, but that entourage effect, through a lot of studies that I have read and summaries of studies from physicians and research scientists, is that entourage effect, that botanical of having those cannabinoids working synergistically together, is much more effective than having an isolate. So someone with pain issues, and I'll just throw out some numbers, if they're taking a full spectrum CBD product, may need, let's say, 20 milligrams. With an isolate, they may need 40 or 50. It's going to be different because that isolate is not as effective. That entourage effect is really dealing with the distillate and the cannabinoids in their natural or botanical state that really makes them very effective. When you start isolating molecules, you have CBD. It still can be somewhat beneficial, but not as. And we still don't know what benefits all the other minor cannabinoids in that botanical form or that full spectrum form are contributing. Those are unknowns that are just, the research is just starting to scratch the surface on that. But a full spectrum product, with all the research that I have read, it's much more effective than an isolate. And even a THC isolate, I'm a THC user. I don't think I'd want to use a THC or be involved in any type of THC isolate. THC alone is not a great cannabinoid, with how it makes you feel and how your body reacts to it. With CBD and all those other cannabinoids, at specific doses, can be incredibly effective for a lot of people dealing with different issues.
That makes sense. Yeah. So go ahead, Mike, because it's the language in the law, the total THC. As you were talking, these people are writing these laws, but they really don't understand what they're talking about. They don't understand the hole that they're putting us into.
Yeah, I think what they need to point out to them is this is a huge industry and multi-billion dollars, not just in Michigan, but around the country. And I don't know if they got a feel for that. Do you get the sense that they don't? I think it gets back to when we first started. I said, don't get me started on politicians because, most of them are idiots. They don't really know what they're doing. And in this case, they're going to really mess up this market because clearly they don't seem to know what they're doing. Would you agree with that?
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Even from the beginning, a few years ago, when talks on laws, my opinion was that you're looking at marijuana and then you're looking at hemp. And I go, that's not, I don't think that's a right approach. It's cannabis, regardless. Hemp and
Same
marijuana,
plant, just
same
different
plant.
levels of THC, things like that.
Exactly. And the aspect of why this is being done in that 2018 Farm Bill, the loopholes in that, the 0.3% by dry weight was the kicker there, that most marijuana by dry weight even is less than 0.3% THC. Most of it's THCA. That was the big loophole. So instead of trying to redefine what hemp is and what marijuana is, I think they simply could have taken the age threshold of CBD and have it either 18 or 21, which would keep it out of the hands of children unless their parents are purchasing it. In our business, I have never sold to anyone or have anyone even come into our store that was 18 or younger looking for our products. We've had parents come in for different issues that I would consult them with on the use of CBD for their kids, dealing with behavioral issues in classrooms where they couldn't stand still, almost like ADD. CBD will affect a lot of people in the same way that Ritalin would. It gives you an energetic focus, and it's helped with behavioral issues. But we don't sell to, we've never even been approached with selling our product to any minors. And I would be not opposed at all to just simply put an age limit on it and be done with it. And then look at other safety aspects. I think there needs to be regulation on the aspect of how it's processed to make sure that if they are converting cannabinoids, it's done in a safe way. But there are safe ways to do that also. I think they've kind of opened up a box that they didn't anticipate, and understanding how cannabis works. In that entourage effect, I think is incredibly important. And understanding the therapeutic aspects. We're not in this business for recreational purposes. We are in this business for therapeutic purposes. And there's not as much money in CBD as there was THC. And it seems to be that the government is leaning toward giving it all toward the recreational use licenses of THC, which we are exploring also. That might be an avenue we have to go just to continue producing the products that we produce right now, which in November, if things don't change, all of our products will become illegal. We're not dealing with high amounts of THC. I'm talking simply about our full spectrum CBD products will become illegal. The response I've gotten is, well, you can buy THC products at dispensaries. And yes, you can. You're not going to get the education from them. They are adult use recreational retail. That's not their business model. I don't fault them for not knowing. They're not required to know. But to get the aspect, the education on particularly dosing and how to dose and how to figure out how to use it is incredibly important. We've had two customers, and I use these two as examples of going into a recreational dispensary. One woman was in her late 70s, another in her early 80s. One went in for pain, the other went in for anxiety. For us, that's two different products after having talked to them and consulted on what that is. For the recreational use dispensaries, it was one product. It was 20 milligram THC gummies. These women have never had THC before in their lives. Anybody who understands edibles and the amount, a 20 milligram THC gummy is, I don't do it unless I am at home.
That'd break me for 12 hours.
And these women they didn't know what to expect. They were very novice to any type of cannabis. So it threw them off, and luckily they came to see us. And we got them on products that are very beneficial for them, and they've had tremendous success, both with the pain and with the anxiety. But again, they were two different products, and it wasn't just the 20 milligram THC gummies. So giving all that to recreational use, adult use dispensaries, there's very few, if any, that really have the knowledge to explain these minor cannabinoids, CBD included, in that, for people to understand how to dose, what to start with, what to take, how much, when to titrate up, and different warning signs that you might want to look at cannabis. And specifically, and it's a very rare condition, but I came across it locally, was cannabis hyperemesis, which is basically an allergic reaction to cannabis. And it's about the only physical detriment that some people may have from cannabis, but it's a very rare condition. But I do consult people on that also and say, if you're not a regular cannabis user and don't know, you start low, you titrate up, and if there's any negative effects, you stop. But that knowledge is not available in regular dispensaries either.
Well, let me ask you a quick question here as we begin to run low on time. For sleep, I take a THC gummy, but again, it's a high THC dose and a low CBN dose. What would you recommend for guys or women or whatever that want to take something to help them sleep better? What would you recommend?
Well, what I do every night is I do a combination of THC and CBN. At times, I will do a combination of CBD and CBN. What CBN is, it's THC degraded, it converts, doesn't have an intoxicating effect, keeps the calming, relaxing effect. And I tell people it lets you go to sleep. It doesn't put you to sleep. For people who are not having issues falling asleep, the CBN CBD combination is very effective. What we have found anecdotally, and mainly through my sister-in-law, that combination wasn't necessarily working for her. An added amount of THC, up to even 5 milligrams into that product, got her to sleep, and then she was able to go to sleep. So I think it would be a matter of experimenting a little bit, and depending on what your issues are with sleep. Some people fall asleep fine, wake up in the middle of the night. I would say a CBN or a CBD CBN combination would be great for people who are having difficulty falling asleep. Then I think the added amount of THC to that is very beneficial to help them get to sleep. And that CBN works when you're taking it sublingually under the tongue or in a gummy, letting that dissolve in your mouth. It will last 4 to 6 hours. If I get up in the middle of the night, 4 in the morning, when I take these products, I can fall back to sleep. I have no issues falling back to sleep. And I've been a insomniac for most of my adult life. In the last 5 years, I've gotten better sleep than I have most of my adult life.
Okay. Any final thoughts here as we come close to the end of the half hour from either of you?
Dave, go ahead.
Well, where can we find your products, Kyle? I'm going to throw you a softball.
Well, we do have a physical location in St. Clair, Michigan right now, 201 North Riverside Drive in St. Clair, Michigan, just north of Detroit by about 45 minutes. Or you can purchase online at thumbcoastcbd.com. We ship all over the country at this point, and even all over the state and even locally for people who are homebound that are not able to get out. We ship to pretty much everywhere, anywhere and everywhere that we can. And on the online, if someone would set up a subscription, we also offer a 20% off discount on that. But thumbcoastcbd.com, or if you're in Southeast Michigan, we're located in St. Clair, Michigan at 201 North Riverside Drive in the plaza in St. Clair, Michigan.
Very good. We appreciate you, Kyle. And don't fear the plant. That's my final word.